1863, the United States of America, a house divided. This is the story of the Transcontinental Railroad, a bold attempt to span the West with iron rails, the greatest train race in history.
You are about to lead a team of 10,000 men across the most dangerous and difficult land on Earth. If you succeed, it will be the greatest engineering feat this country has ever seen.
If you fail, the country will forever stand divided.
The Central Pacific.
The Union Pacific.
Two railroads racing towards Utah.
Golden Spike, if victory is yours. The race is on. Should we join the Central Pacific Railroad or the Union Pacific Railroad?
Start in California and race east to Utah. Or start in Nebraska and race west. The choice is yours. Click on the posters to get more information on each company. Click on Join when you want to start.
Join the Union Pacific and build west from Omaha, Nebraska to Promontory, Utah. Omaha, Nebraska, a frontier boomtown whose fortunes are on the rise thanks to the railroad. Utah, over 1,000 miles from Omaha along the California Emigrant Trail. Let's just say it's not exactly clear how the Native Americans feel about iron horses galloping across their land. The route is long, but it's mostly flat. To Omaha, let's go! Welcome to Engine HQ. I'm Jack. Got my steam-powered map. Got my train of thought journal to keep track of all the money I make. Got everything I need, except the Golden Spike.
Not so fast, Jack. We may never win the Golden Spike. Haven't you seen the paper?
Golden Spike stolen!
A mastermind has stolen the Golden Spike and has hatched a plot to sabotage our railroad. The mastermind has hired 6 of the meanest outlaws in the West to do his dirty work. I'll work on solving the mystery of the Golden Spike.
And I better start building this railroad. Dream Team? We've hired 3 of the wiliest Wild West heroes to help us out.
My name's Jane, Calamity Jane.
I'm Mountain Man James Beckworth. Call me Tomahawk.
And I'm Wild Bill Hickok, the Prince of the Pistoliers.
Now, let's get building.
I'll be in here if you need me.
My steam-powered map works with spectral light filtered in from outside. Manometers, chronometers, receptor lenses, and, well, who cares? It works. From here, I do all the planning engineering for the railroad. We're building from Omaha, Nebraska on the right to Promontory Point, Utah in the middle. To bail on this awesome responsibility, click the exit arrow. If you're puzzled, use the question mark. Here's your train of thought journal. Keeps track of the money you earn, your ranking, and a whole lot more. If you want to see how the competition is doing, click on the milestones on the other side of the map. I'm back here, don't forget. Turn around by clicking on the side of the screen. Ready to build from Omaha to Columbus? This is your train of thought journal. It tracks your progress. Come back here to see how much money you've made and what your ranking is. The more money you make, the higher your ranking. Watch out though, if you go bankrupt, your ranking may go down. I'll keep all the information on how you're doing here on the company page. Let's hope you make it to Chief Engineer. Click on the tabs to check out the other pages in the journal. Ready to build from Omaha to Columbus? Bad for them, good for us. The Central Pacific have to deal with mountains straight out of the gate. Straight out of the gate. Straight out of the gate. Those Sierra Nevadas are murder. All set. Start building from Omaha. And build all the way to Columbus. That's 90 miles across flat land. Now the government grants us $16,000 per mile along flat land. That makes the grand total we can spend without going bankrupt $1,440,000. All right, let's get building. If you want to interrupt me, just hit the escape key. If you want to stop and go back to Engine HQ, click on the exit button. If you want help, click on the help button. If you want to lay down tracks, bridges, or tunnels, click down here. If you want to backtrack and undo what you did, click on the X. Remember, we want to finish up with as much money as possible. Keep watching that money meter. And whatever you do, don't go bankrupt or we'll have to start this building mission over again from Omaha. Omaha to Columbus. Your mission? Make peace with the Pawnee, who are feared by westbound pioneer settlers. I wonder if the settlers' fears are justified. Sarah and the Dream Team are out in the field surveying the best route. Maybe they can help. To plan your best route, click on the highlighted sections of the map. Click on Sarah's camera to see a picture she just took. You can also click on the Dream Team for advice. That's what they're there for. Click on the word Pawnee for more information. To close this window, click on the arrow. The Pawnee are usually friendly. They have lived and farmed in this region for hundreds of years. Pawnee scouts often help the U.S. Army fight against other native people in the area.
The settlers in this area are killing massive numbers of buffalo. That's what I call a massacre. This is a big problem since the Pawnee depend on buffalo for food and shelter.
If you talk to a Pawnee scout, he'll tell you that the U.S. government has treated them much worse than the Sioux or Apache. Their word can't be trusted. Not sure if that's true, but it's something to think about.
Some say the Pawnee got their name from the Sioux word for feather because of the bright feathers they like to wear.
There were about 10,000 Pawnee in this area not too long ago. That's all changing now that settlers from the east are coming west. Heck, think the railroad's gonna help the Pawnee?
The Platte River is wide and deep here, with firm banks. The river is narrow and there is evidence of erosion along the banks. Erosion is a wearing away of land caused by forces such as water or wind. The river is banks are the edges of rivers, lakes, and seas.
The Elkhorn River isn't wide, but with all this erosion, it could be tricky to build here.
Locals say that this Pawnee toll bridge is the best place to cross Shell Creek. The Pawnee know this area well. I reckon the locals are right about their toll bridge.
The Pawnee are a hunting and farming tribe who have lived in the area for hundreds of years.
The Pawnee have lived and farmed in this region for hundreds of years. The Pawnee are friendly, if you keep on their good side anyway. Shell Creek is narrow here, and its banks are firm. Another nearby creek is called Rawhide Creek. It got its name when a man was skinned alive there. Raw hide. Pretty gruesome. A creek is a stream of water that is smaller than a river. Creeks are often tributaries to rivers, meaning they connect with rivers. Sand. The land is sandy along the banks of Shell Creek. Sand results from rock breaking up into small, fine pieces. Sand can become quicksand in watery areas. Quicksand is deep, loose sand that is mixed with water. It can trap people and animals. Heavy objects, like railroad ties, readily sink into it.
Quicksand in these parts? I doubt it. I say we build here since it's on the way.
Mysterious Hill. This lone hill on the prairie is so perfectly round. It may have been created by humans. Sometimes pioneers hid riches in weird-looking places so they could find the loot again.
I'll bet there's a secret treasure in the hill.
Wild Bill thinks there's treasure under every bump on the prairie. Sometimes folks make hills for other reasons than burying treasure, you know.
North Hills. These hills are steep and grassy. It'll take some blasting to create a level road for the rails. Hills like these are rounded because of erosion. These hills are covered in grass and should be easy to cross.
Ever notice that hills are rounder than mountains? Why do you think that is?
Pioneer Campsite. This old campsite was probably used by westbound wagon trains. Pioneers sometimes hid valuable things underneath campfires. After all, who would think to look there?
There's a broken wagon wheel and a burned-out campfire here.
Campsites like this one were common sights in this area in the days of fur trading. If you come across one, look around. You may find something of value left behind.
There are ponies here without horseshoes, but no one is around. They could be wild horses. They say if you find cattle without brands, you're allowed to take them. I wonder if the same holds true for horses without shoes.
Wild ponies have run in these parts since the first Spanish explorers in the 1500s.
The wolf population here is very dense. Since they destroy livestock, the local settlers will pay you to hunt them. Wolves are large predatory animals that live and hunt in packs and resemble dogs.
Wolves don't make good eating, but they are pests for farmers who raise animals.
German homestead. Germans living in this homestead may offer you a reward or bounty for hunting wolves. I wonder if they're friendly. American railroads sent agents to Germany and Europe to bring workers to the United States. It worked. The Germans came by the thousands. German homesteads were land that settlers could come to own by staking a claim and farming the land.
In the plains, there are few trees, so families build homes with whatever they can find. It takes 3,000 square feet of sod to cut enough bricks for a sod house, which they call a soddy. The owner of a soddy is called a sodbuster.
Building starts in Omaha in the Nebraska Territory on December 2nd, 1863. Omaha is the eastern starting point of the Transcontinental Railroad. Congress put President Lincoln in charge of picking the starting point of the railroad. He chose Omaha. Click on the Dream Team and they'll tell you more. Omaha is the biggest city in Nebraska. The population is 1,500. It was originally settled by a ferry company that operated between Iowa and the new Nebraska Territory in 1854. Some say Nebraska will one day be a state. Currently, it's a territory of the United States. Good luck, Nebraska. Hope you make it to statehood.
Omaha is boomtown. There are saloons, heck, even a butcher shop. This place is up and coming.
Been walking around town. City's full of gold seekers and men who are trying to avoid being drafted into the Civil War.
We call it the Pacific Railroad because it's the first railroad destined to connect the Pacific Ocean with the Atlantic Ocean. President Lincoln located the eastern starting point of the first transcontinental railroad here in Omaha in December 1863.
Columbus is 90 miles from Omaha across flat Nebraska prairie. Our goal is to build track to Columbus with the money we have. If we go bankrupt, we'll have to start this mission over. Columbus was founded in 1856 along the route of the wagon trains that followed westward along the Platte River toward California.
Early residents had high hopes for Columbus. George Francis Train vowed that Columbus would one day be America's capital, since it is the geographic center of the nation.
The river is narrow and there is evidence of erosion along the banks. To get bridge info, click on the pictures. To pick a bridge, click on the check mark. Additional reinforcement on the eroded riverbanks costs extra. Total cost of bridge, $75,000. Ready to build? Want to know what's going on this year? Try clicking on the calendar. Want to go see Sarah? Through the door behind me. What's going on in 1863? President Lincoln has just given the Gettysburg Address. 77 years ago. That's 87 in case you didn't know. There are more than 31 million people now living in the USA. Some say that number could grow by 7 times before the year 2000. 270 million Americans. That's a lot of train tickets. No, 1863. They now make timepieces small enough to wear on the wrist. Now you don't have to run to the town square whenever you want to know the time. Roller skating. It's 1863 and it's all the rage. Mail call. Now people in the cities get their mail delivered for free. 1863 is a pretty good year to have a pen friend. Ready to build from Omaha? All set. Omaha. The river is narrow. There's nothing like a good, strong wood trestle bridge. The river is narrow. There's nothing like a good, strong wood trestle bridge. Locusts invade the area in huge black clouds. There are so many of them that the rails are too slick to run trains on. You lose $10,000. Locusts are grasshoppers that travel in huge swarms, stripping vegetation from the land and making the tracks too slippery to run trains on.
Bugs! I got a bug in my hair! Get it off! Get it off!
Mysterious hill. This hill is so perfectly round, it may have been created by pioneers who were trying to hide treasure. Decide what to do. Click on Wild Bill or Calamity for more information. Decide what to do by clicking on the check mark. Sometimes pioneers hid riches in areas that were distinct so that they could find the loot again. On the route westward, the pioneers sometimes hid heavy valuables with the intention of coming back someday to get them.
Let's dig. If there's no treasure in that hill, I'll eat my hat.
Digging up old hills just seems like a fool idea to me.
The hill turns out to be a Pawnee burial mound. It was good not to disturb it. The Pawnee often buried their dead under burial mounds. They wouldn't have liked it if we had dug one up. A burial mound is the traditional place for the Pawnee to bury their dead.
I knew it was a burial mound all along. I was just fooling around.
Pawnee Toll Bridge. The Pawnee are friendly and allow use of their toll bridge. You save $10,000. That's a fine deal. I reckon it was a good thing we didn't bother the Pawnee when we were building.
The Pawnee are a hunting and farming tribe who have lived in the area for hundreds of years.
The wolf population here is very dense. Since they destroy livestock, the local settlers will pay you to hunt them. What do you want to do?
You'd have to be plumb crazy to build in the middle of a pack of wolves. They could attack the men.
Wild Bill Hickok's not afeard of no wolves. Let's go hunting.
Your workers hunt 500 wolves. Build to the homesteads if you want to collect the bounty. Let me just say, wolves don't make good eating.
Bang, bang! $5 a wolf? Give me my rifle and I'll make us rich.
German homestead. Germans living in this homestead offer a bounty on wolves. For every wolf your workers hunted, you get $5. Collect $2,500. That's because we hunted 500 wolves. See? I can do math. Congratulations! Fireworks can be seen for miles around on the flat Nebraska prairie. The Union Pacific has made it to Columbus. Lexington, Nebraska. We're right smack dab in the middle of the American continent. Click on the Train of Thought Journal to see your current ranking. We're beating the company. Some drink from the fountain of knowledge. Some just gargle. The U.S. Treasury Department authorized the nickel this year. Great. A new coin for outlaws to steal. These days, thanks to canning, everyone can buy peas all year long. Great. When I was a kid, vegetables were supposed to be bad for you. But now they say it's just the reverse. This season, the word on the street is black. All the gentlemen are wearing it. The ASPCA was founded this year. Hopefully, there will be no more cruelty to animals. I wonder if that goes for outlaws. Alfred Nobel invented dynamite this year. Maybe we can put it to use blasting tunnels. It's now 1866. President Andrew Johnson has formally declared the Civil War to be over. Peace at last. The U.S. Treasury Department authorized the nickel. Good work! The first leg of the railroad is finished. Now it's on to Lexington. The Transcontinental Railroad is on its way. But it looks like the mastermind is fast on our trail. There's a fire in the Omaha train yard. We need to move our train before it's destroyed. Yee-haw! Yeah! What with the Sierra Nevada mountains slowing them up, the CP's just creeping along at this point. We're whipping their cabooses. Whom should we send on this mission? Calamity Jane? Wild Bill Hickok? Or Tomahawk Beckworth? Dream Team? Omaha, Nebraska, August 3rd, 1866. One of the outlaws has set fire to the train yard. Your mission? Rescue the prized locomotive by driving it out of the train yard. When you're ready to start the mission, click on Exit. If you want to return to this page for help, just click on the Train of Thought journal. Good luck!
Hey! It's hay! Might be handy for something. Holy cow! I mean, horse! A lantern! Might help if I need to get inside a dark place. A Navy Colt. One bullet from this would send a keg of blasting powder sky high. It's a hay trail. I should follow it and see where it leads. I'll just step over here and take my shot. These posters on the wall must be a clue about how to turn the round table. These switches turn the turntable. I just need to figure out which one to pull. Well, that moved something outside. That's forward. That's the throttle. All right, we're on the move. All right, now I just have to put this locomotive in reverse and hook up to the tender car. That's forward. That's neither forward nor reverse. That's reverse. That's the throttle. Perfect. The tender car linked up when I backed into it. Now I just need to drive out of here. That's forward. That's the throttle. All right, we're on the move.
A train yard fire's no match for us. Nice going, eh? Our prize locomotive is safe. Good work! The first leg of the railroad is finished. Now it's on to Lexington. Ready? Start building from Columbus and build all the way to Lexington. That's 150 miles. At $16,000 per mile, the government's giving us $2,400,000. All right, let's get building. Columbus to Lexington. There's trouble in these parts between the settlers from the east and the Native Americans. Your mission? Don't get caught in the middle. Germans here, and Swedish, Pawnee, Arapaho, and Cheyenne. Whose land is this anyway?
There are buffalo herds near Columbus. They've attracted hunters from the Pawnee, the Arapaho, and the Cheyenne. Watch your step.
German settlers, Swedish settlers, Pawnee, Arapaho, Cheyenne. I thought this was supposed to be a frontier. It's crowded around here.
I don't give two hoots who this land belongs to. We're here to build a train. Let's not get ourselves involved.
Them native tribes were here first, and this land's part of them. If there's a problem with the tribe, don't forget that.
The Platte River is wide and deep here, with firm banks. Loup River. The Loup River is narrow and shallow, with firm banks. It looks like a good place to build a bridge.
Not much of a river, really. I've seen bigger bathtubs in my time.
The banks of the Loup are nice and firm, good for building. Loup is the French word for wolf. It was French explorers that named the river.
Steep hills. These hills are steep and grassy and will require blasting. If you don't blast, you can't make the road flat.
Ever notice that hills are rounder than mountains? Why do you think that is?
Enormous herds of buffalo have been spotted in this area. Your cow catchers may come in handy. The great American buffalo, or bison, is a truly magnificent animal. The American buffalo is the largest land mammal in North America. There are somewhere between 30 million to 70 million buffalo ranging over the continent. Tens of millions. Imagine that. Enormous herds of cow catchers were used to push animals and other things off the tracks. They keep the locomotives from going off the tracks.
Buffalo. You know, we could make a fortune by inviting people to take our trains out here to shoot the buffalo. They could stand on the roofs of the trains and shoot away. There are millions of buffalo. No way we could ever run out of them.
Watch out for buffalo stampedes. The sound is deafening, like the worst thunderstorm you've ever heard, only 10 times worse. You won't make it out alive.
Arapaho Village. These wide fields would be an easy place to build, but you'll have to build across Arapaho hunting land. I wonder if that's a good idea.
The Crow Indians, who lived north of the Platte River, called the tribe Alapaho, which means people with many tattoos. The Arapaho love tattoos.
Some Arapaho are trying to make peace with the U.S. government after the terrible Indian wars of the early 1860s. Other Arapaho agree with their Cheyenne neighbors that the settlement of Nebraska must be stopped. They want war.
If you want to tell an Arapaho from a Cheyenne, look for the fork or diamond pattern. They're typically Arapaho. The Cheyenne don't use them. Also, look at the colors. Cheyenne use light green, light blue, and black. The Arapaho never use those colors.
Arapaho girls play with miniature teepees that are 2 to 3 feet high. They use squirrel fur instead of buffalo hide. You know what Arapaho boys and girls get for their 3rd birthday? Their own pony. Me? I got a pistol for my 3rd birthday. Yeah!
If you see a fork or diamond pattern, that's an Arapaho. The Cheyenne don't use them. They use different colors, too. Cheyenne use light green, light blue, and black. The Arapaho never use those colors.
Cheyenne Camp. The Cheyenne are camped in this area. It's not clear how friendly they are. They may be on a buffalo hunt. They may also be here to fight the Pawnee who are hunting south of the Platte. The Cheyenne see this land as theirs. They use a variety of weapons in battle in order to keep these hunting grounds their own. Just before the Civil War, the Cheyenne started using pistols. But they could use them only at the beginning of a battle because they were hard to reload while on horseback.
You can tell it's the Cheyenne and not the Arapaho because the tents are sparkling white.
Bows and arrows, guns, lances, clubs and axes, knives and whips. The Cheyenne have plenty of ways to teach us a lesson or two.
The Cheyenne decorate their firearms with feathers and beads. They carved or painted both the wooden and the metal parts. Marks on the barrel or stock indicate how many men a warrior had killed. Scary.
Marsh. Wet conditions in this marsh. If there's flooding in the spring, it may cost you money. A marsh is a watery place where a river may or may not run, depending on conditions. Pawnee Village. These wide fields are the easiest place to build. Beware, the land is Pawnee. These wide fields of maize and beans would be the easiest place to build. But do you think we should build on Pawnee land? The Pawnee are usually friendly and have lived and farmed in this region for hundreds of years. Recently, the Pawnee have been angered by their treatment at the hands of the U.S. government.
When they went each summer on the buffalo hunt, the Pawnee lived in teepees.
These wide fields of maize and beans would be the easiest place to build. In fact, it'd save us tons of money. But we'll have to build across Pawnee land. Are you willing to do that? I am. The government has granted us the right-of-way.
Each woman would be responsible for planting, raising, harvesting, and storing grains and vegetables, which she would then store in a lined, covered pit dug into the ground near the home.
The government promised to protect the Pawnee from the Sioux, but such aid hasn't been forthcoming, and the Sioux continue to harass them. We could be caught in the middle.
Prairie Dog Town. There may be as many as 1 million prairie dogs in this area. The prairie dog town is 30 miles long. A prairie dog is a burrowing rodent in the squirrel family that lives in large underground colonies or towns.
Prairie dogs are cute, but pesky. They dig up the ground and make it hard to build. Farmers just hate them because they damage crops. This prairie dog colony is 30 miles long.
Prairie dogs! There's millions of them out here. Some say billions. Such pests. If I was to set up a farm in these parts, I'd get to hunting them rodents straight away.
The Swedish settlers here want the railroad. They also want help with their Arapaho enemies. The Swedish moved into this area in the 1850s from their homeland, Sweden, in northern Europe. They're itching to have a railroad nearby for trading.
The Swedish live in sod huts here. They fashion bricks out of grass because there are so few trees to be had.
The Swedish are from Sweden, which is in northern Europe. I've never been to Europe. I hate water, and I'm not about to cross the Atlantic Ocean to get there, not even on one of them newfangled steam-powered ships.
Lakota Camp. The chief of the Lakota has never seen a train. He may challenge you to a race if you build in this area. They call our trains iron horses. Lakota tribes control most of North and South Dakota, west to the Bighorn Mountains in Wyoming, and south to the Platte River in Nebraska.
The Lakota are sometimes called the Sioux and sometimes Dakota.
Grand Island. There are homesteaders from several countries living here. This town will prosper if we build here.
I don't know what's so grand about Grand Island, but I'll tell you something. Once the railroad comes around, any town can become grand. Just sell land, set up saloons and hotels, and you're rich.
If Grand Island was good enough for the settlers, the Mormons, and the Gold Rush boys, I reckon it's good enough for the train. I mean, everybody else passed through here. Why shouldn't we?
Grand Island is nicely positioned along the Platte River. The land along the river is nice and flat. That's one of the reasons so many people pass this way.
Grand Island is located along the emigrant trails that were used by early settlers as they headed out west. Taking the trails west was a tough journey for the early pioneers. They're called emigrants because they were moving out of their land and into a new land. German settlement. The German settlers in this area welcome your railroad. It could pay off nicely to build near them. Native Americans attacked the German settlers back in 1864. The Germans fought back, and now they're fiercely protective of their new homeland.
A lot of these Germans are fresh off the boat from Europe. They haven't had time to learn much English.
I met the Germans, and they're right nice. The only problem is they don't speak English good like I do. We may need a German to English dictionary if we talk to them further.
Folks from the railroad helped bring over a lot of Germans to settle along the train route.
Those Germans had a hard time getting here, a hard time settling here, and a hard time farming here. They'll fight for what they've got.
Fort Kearny. This fort has been keeping these parts safe for years. This'll be a good place to build. Fort Kearny was built in 1848 to protect folks on the Overland Trail to Oregon. The government bought the land from the Pawnee in return for schooling and farming instruction.
Fort here. They were set up to protect white settlers from Indian attacks. I wonder if the presence of the forts made the situation even worse. If you saw people building forts in your traditional lands, what would you think?
Columbus, Nebraska. Building starts in Columbus in May of 1866. From here, it's 150 miles across flat Nebraska prairie. Folks that live here have high hopes that Columbus will be the capital of the United States someday. That's because it's near the geographic center of the country. Shouldn't the capital be in the center of the country?
I met one George Train, colorful figure in these parts, and he thinks we should have a holiday called Arbor Day. Like that'll ever happen.
When the Sioux kidnapped 4 kids from the Campbell family, the U.S. military came in. They made an exchange with the Sioux Indian chief, Turkey Leg, and got him back.
In July 1867, both the Campbell and Warren homesteads were attacked. 4 children of the Peter Campbell family were kidnapped by Sioux Indians. The Campbell children were exchanged at a meeting between the U.S. military and the Sioux Indian chief, Turkey Leg.
Columbus, Nebraska. Lexington, Nebraska. The area around Lexington is one of the most dangerous areas on the way west. Lexington started out when Daniel Freeman and his family opened a frontier trading post along the Oregon Trail near the Platte River in 1860.
Watch out! This area is still catching its breath from the Plum Creek massacre. There's danger in these parts. Tread carefully.
Columbus. Some say Nebraska will one day be a state. Buffalo. Enormous herds of buffalo have been spotted in this area.
The Arapaho hunt those buffalo. It's not worth riling up the Arapaho for a little meat.
There's meat enough out there to get all the men to Promontory and back again. We'd be crazy not to hunt them.
Your workers get into a skirmish with the Arapaho while hunting buffalo. The battle costs you $10,000.
Those Arapaho fought hard for them buffalo.
Good work! Ready? Columbus. Loup River. The Loup River is narrow and shallow with firm banks. It looks like a good place to build a bridge. Good call. A deck bridge goes with this narrow river like bread goes with butter. Loup River. Good call. A deck bridge goes with this narrow river like bread goes with butter. Strong winds damage your bridge. Cost to rebuild? $10,000. No way we could have foreseen that. Wind is moving air, varying in force from a slight breeze to a strong gale. Strong winds frequently blow from the north across the prairie.
Windstorms on the prairies. They're made worse by the fact there are so few trees. There's nothing to stop the wind in its tracks.
Grand Island. This town booms and prospers due to the railroad. Land sales and commerce earn you $50,000 over the long run.
I don't know what's so grand about Grand Island, but I'll tell you something. Once the railroad comes around, any town can become grand.
Prairie fire. Sparks from a locomotive set a vast prairie fire that can be seen for miles around. Cost to rebuild tracks? $50,000.
Prairie grass gets mighty dry in the summer. And since we burn wood in the locomotive, sparks and ash sometimes fly up and light the grass on fire. That's something to see, I tell you. Fire as far as the eye can spy.
That was some fire. All right, from now on, we better put a cap on the smokestack to try and keep the sparks from flying up. This prairie grass catches fire easier than a newspaper.
Lakota Camp. The chief of the Lakota has never seen an iron horse. He challenges you to a race.
We don't have time for a race. We're in one already. Racing to Promontory.
I love a good competition. Of course we should race them. How can our iron horse not beat their ponies?
The Lakota...
You win the race, and the friendship you establish here benefits you in the long run to the tune of $100,000.
When we blew our train whistle, the unfamiliar noise startled the riders and they got into battle pose, swung over the side of the horse. Later at the victory supper, the Lakota wouldn't touch their food for fear of being poisoned.
German settlement. The Germans are getting ready for war with the Pawnee and want your help. What do you want to do?
I got these phrases from my handy-dandy German phrase book. Hope they help.
I don't like this situation at all. I say we do the right thing. Aufgeben.
Well, I'm not exactly sure how to pronounce it, but I say Angriff. It's for our own safety, too.
Let's encourage a little cooperation here, don't you think? Handel.
You have offered to trade with the Pawnee to try to make peace. What do you want to trade?
The good old U.S. dollar's called a greenback in these parts. That's because of their color. Who wouldn't want some of them?
All the Indians' clothes are made of buffalo hide. I reckon they could use some cotton cloth.
The Pawnee could use some horses for hunting, I reckon. They call horses super dogs. That just cracks me up.
The Pawnee trade for your horses. Peace is made with the Germans, and you make $50,000 profit for building here.
The Pawnee sure like them super dogs. They call them that because the first horses they saw looked like huge dogs to them.
Horses have changed life for the Pawnee. The men with the best horses are often the best warriors and buffalo hunters. Before horses, strength and skill made a Pawnee important in the tribe. Fort Kearny offers your railroad valuable protection. You save $50,000. We'll have to send a thank you card.
Fort here. They were set up to protect white settlers from Indian attacks. I wonder if the presence of the forts made the situation even worse. If you saw people building forts in your traditional lands, what would you think?
Lexington, Nebraska. A big prairie fire is set to celebrate the arrival of the Union Pacific. We did it!
Don't you need a license to be this smart?
Our first outlaw has been spotted in Omaha, and it's Billy the Kid. Drag him! These days, thanks to canning, our first outlaw has been spotted in Omaha, and it's Billy the Kid. He must be up to no good. We're coming to get you, kid. Let's pick a member from the Dream Team to do our dirty work. Billy the Kid is hiding in the train yard. Your mission? Catch the kid. First, find out where he's hiding. When you think you know, click on that location with the gold deputy star. You only have one guess, so make it a good one.
It's a switchman. He ain't talking. Let's move on. It's a fireman. He saw the kid head due south of here. How far south, he's not sure. Let's move on. We only have one chance to get him. Use it wisely. Billy the Kid, show your ugly face. No, kid, you're under arrest.
hold your iron horses. I'm working here.
The mastermind hides his tracks well, but everyone we're looking for knows something about him. That's where this steam-powered interrogator comes in so handy. It's the perfect device for people who don't want to talk. Just remember, though, a person is innocent till proven guilty. Geronimo wouldn't be caught dead doing the mastermind's dirty work, but he may have information we could use. Jesse James calls himself the most famous outlaw in the West. Guess what? He may be right. One thing's certain, though. Everyone we're looking for has information we need. Let's leave the engineering to Jack and the interrogating to me, shall we? Speaking of Jack, he's back there, through that door. You can go there anytime you want. I'll stay here and handle these tough guys. Whenever you capture an outlaw, click on the wanted poster and the villain will appear in the jail cell. Click on one of the question words and I'll get down to business. If we trick them into talking, they just may give us clues. There's a secret weapon at my disposal if you know where to look. It's helium. Don't forget, we're trying to figure out who the mastermind is who stole the golden spike. Anytime we get a clue, I'll record it here in the Train of Thought journal. After you capture and question all the outlaws, it'll be time to guess who the mastermind is. I can ask questions that are polite, tough as nails, or totally loco. Which'll it be? Tough as nails. Okay, kid, spill the beans. Who's your boss?
Ah, food! There's something my poor and starving boss could use.
We just got ourselves our first clue. Now comes the interesting part. On the cell door is the galvanic skin response steam-powered truth meter. It measures the amount of sweat on the outlaw's dirty palms. It'll gauge whether or not our outlaw friend is telling the truth, lying, or dodgy, which is somewhere in between. False, huh? I'll make a record of it. One of these men is the mastermind who stole the golden spike and hired the outlaws to sabotage our railroad. Every time we get a clue, I'll record it here in the Train of Thought journal. Click on a mastermind to look at the clues. I'll list the clues we get for each question word. Click on the question words to compare the clues to the information we have on each mastermind. If all clues for this question word match the information for that question word, put a check mark in the box. If all 4 boxes are checked, you can bet you found the mastermind. You can't guess who the mastermind is until you have all the clues. The suspects. They're innocent until proven guilty. Let me at 'em. Did somebody say helium?
I'll never talk. You can't make me. Not even with helium.
All right, this'll teach ya.
Stop! Stop, I tell you! Turn that helium off!
Funny voice you have. Did somebody say helium?
Hey, turn that off! Turn that helium off!
Better now? Where? A question that's tough as nails. You better tell me where your boss lives, or they'll call you Billy the Grandpa by the time you leave here.
I'm shaking in my boots. Which reminds me, there are often earthquakes where the mastermind lives.
What? False, huh? I'll make a record of it. A question that's tough as nails. Billy, you rascally robber. Tell me what your boss looks like or I'll give you what for.
Ooh, I'm scared. My hair may turn white like the hair of my boss. Ha!
Dodgy. I'll put that in the journal anyway. How? A question that's tough as nails. Tell me how your boss earns his living, Billy the baby, or you'll be living in that cell for a very, very long time.
He does what I do, handle money. Unlike my boss, I need to wear gloves because the money I handle is hot, hot, hot.
It's true. I'll put it in the journal. Every outlaw has the right to be ugly, but they abuse the privilege.
Ah, I think I just sprained my brain. Our next milestone on the Transcontinental Railroad is North Platte. Let's build! An outlaw has sabotaged one of our trains near Lexington. Black Bart's been spotted back in Columbus. We need to capture him. Dream Team?
Look at all those dead buffalo. A crying shame.
Lexington, Nebraska, September 31st, 1866. An outlaw has killed a herd of buffalo, and the Pawnee are blaming our railroad. Your mission? Make peace with the Pawnee. Return to this page whenever you need help. Click on Exit to start your mission.
Look, the train! Look, the train! It was derailed on purpose. The local tribe is blaming the railroad for killing the buffalo. It's a teenage squaw, and she's hurt. Every young teenager performs a vigil as part of their journey into adulthood. This girl's on her spirit mission, but she hurt her ankle, and now she wants to know if I can help her finish the mission. It's a feather. If I touch the right animals with this feather, I'll discover the everlasting standing woman and the little man spirit. I'm looking for two spirits altogether. A rock. Voila! Now I can cross the creek. A water container. Alrighty, filled to the brim. A standing buffalo. It's the everlasting standing woman. She says take this pine cone and use it to find the tree spirit. Trees! It's the tree spirit. He wants me to take this blue orb and give it to the squaw. It represents the bright blue sky and has healing powers. I can't go there. They're angry. I wonder if there's anybody else I can talk to. A crow! It's the little man spirit. A prairie flower, and he wants me to take it to the girl. It'll tell her the name of her firstborn son. The squaw. It worked! The blue orb healed the blue. Now she knows her firstborn son will be named Prairie Flower. We did it! We helped her on her spirit mission. Now she's off to the village. She says follow her. She'll introduce us to her father, the chief. A torch! The chief! He says he's grateful I helped his daughter. He is willing to offer forgiveness if I can show that I know how important the buffalo is to his people. He wants me to find 3 items made from buffalo and place them in the middle of the sacred Buffalo Rocks. In I go! Anything useful in here? Rope. Add it to the inventory. In I go. Anything useful in here? A deerskin blanket. Add it to the inventory and let's get out of here. A mother and child. Baby needs a blanket. The mother would get it herself, but she doesn't want to wake the baby. She's grateful for the deerskin blanket. Here's a baby rattle made from buffalo hide and bone. Let's bring it to the sacred buffalo rocks. A brave. Pemmican is dried buffalo meat. I can have some if I bring him some water first. He's thirsty. Where? A brave. He's grateful for the water. Says I can pluck some pemmican off the rack if I want some. And I do. Pemmican! I should drop this by the sacred buffalo rocks. A brave. He says he's willing to trade his buffalo hide moccasins for some rope. A brave. Awesome! He traded the moccasins for the rope. Better get these to the sacred buffalo rocks. Two more items, and these rocks will sing. The chief says we're almost done. Only one more buffalo item to find. That's the last item. Listen, the rocks are singing. It worked. The sacred buffalo rocks worked. The buffalo have returned. The chief has forgiven the railroad. Peace at last.
The Native Americans helped right that derailed locomotive. Everything's back to normal. At least for the time being. Our next milestone on the Transcontinental Railroad is North Platte. Let's build! Black Bart's been spotted back in Columbus. We need to capture him.
We're coming to get you, Black Bart.
That rat, Black Bart, is hiding out in town. Your mission? Catch the gentleman bandit. First, find out where he's hiding. When you think you know, click on that location with the gold deputy star. If you're right, he'll surrender.
A stock buyer. His name is Jimmy the Dime. He says Black Bart likes to leave riddles about where he's hiding. The first riddle he left goes like this. What doesn't get any wetter no matter how much rain falls on it? What doesn't get any wetter no matter how much rain falls on it? Outlaw, where you be? Black Bart, show your ugly face. Oh.
Our next milestone, Black Bart. We're coming. That rat.
A stock buyer. His name is Jimmy the Dime. He says Black Bart likes to leave riddles about where he's hiding. The first riddle he left goes like this. What doesn't get any wetter no matter how much rain falls on it? What doesn't get any wetter no matter how much rain falls on it? Outlaw, where you be? What doesn't get any wetter no matter how much rain falls on it? Water, of course. He must be in that building. Black in that building. Black in that building. Black Bart, show your ugly face! We found him, but he escaped again. That varmint. Let's find out where he's hiding next. It's a cowboy. He saw Black Bart come out of that building. He left another riddle. It goes, what's as big as a church, yet weighs nothing? I'll sniff 'em out. What's as big as a church but weighs nothing? The shadow of a church, right. Black Bart, come out of there. We caught Black Bart. Yeehaw!
Hold your iron horses, I'm working here.
Outlaw interrogation. 2. Polite. Mr. Bart, please be kind and tell me who's the mastermind.
I'll tell you some, I'll tell you all. His birthday comes around in fall.
A dodgy clue. Useless. Where? Let's see who's full of hot air.
Helium? Have a heart. After all, it's me, Black Bart.
All right, let's see it. Where? Polite. Tell me where your boss does dwell, so I can free you from this cell. Wouldn't that be swell?
He lives far from others. That's his style. He has no neighbor for many a mile.
Not true. I'll record it in the journal. This'll teach ya.
Turn it off! Turn it off! The helium is making me cough!
All right, let's see if that worked. What? Let's see if being polite works. Black Bart, I'm your biggest fan. What does your boss look like? What kind of a man?
Not sharp like a nail, not full like a pail. I tell you now, he's thin as a rail.
Not true. I'll record it in the journal. Look who's talking now.
I'll talk at last, and I'll talk fast. Just turn off that helium gas.
All right, let's see if how. Let's see if being polite works. Do tell me, Mr. Bart, just how does your leader keep money in his feeder?
You can have Black Bart to thank when you find him in his bank.
Dodgy. I'll put that in the journal anyway.
Our next milestone on the Transcontinental Railroad is North Platte. Let's build, let's start. We'll be lighting out from Lexington and making our way to North Platte. 65 miles away. At $16,000 per mile, the government's given us $1,040,000. All right, let's get building. Lexington to North Platte. Difficult country ahead. Your mission? Find a guide to show you the best path.
I found strange skeletons all through these parts. Looked like monster bones to me. There was a skull from a giant beaver with teeth that could cut clear through your leg.
I just got back from a memorial to the victims of the massacre near the bluffs at Plum Creek on August 7th, 1864.
Canyons everywhere. They make good hiding places. They're bad places to get stuck in a fire, too.
These canyons are killers. Treat them like rivers, since they were formed by water in the first place. I'm talking bridge building, if you know what I mean.
Canyon. The wide canyons in this area have nearly vertical rock walls. Looks like some bridge building is in order. A canyon is a valley with steep sides. These canyons were formed by streams flowing into the river across dry land.
The most famous canyon in the world is the Grand Canyon, which I visited a few years ago. It was formed by the fast-flowing water of the Colorado River. Notice the steep sides? That's what makes a canyon different from a valley.
These canyons are dry, dry, dry. You better be sure to watch out for fires. A guide comes in handy at times like this.
These canyons can have flash floods when it rains. We better be careful to build in the right areas.
Canyons. We better treat them like rivers and build bridges across them.
The river is wide and shallow. The banks on both sides have high bluffs. A bluff along a river is a high, steep bank.
Depending on how high the water is, there are different islands in the North Platte River. When it rains a lot, some of those islands become bumps on the bottom of the river.
South Platte River. The South Platte River runs very fast and has a sandy bottom.
The Spanish, who explored this area years and years ago, called this river the Rio de Jesus Maria. A little fancier than the South Platte River, don't you think?
The banks of creeks are fairly low, and the whole place is prone to flooding. Hills. The north bank of the South Platte is covered with sandy hills. Of course, we'll need a level road over these hills before we can lay any rails. A hill is a rounded, natural high place in the land that's lower than a mountain and bigger than a bump in the road.
These hills are covered with tough little plants and trees called scrubs.
Lone tree. A tall tree stands all alone on the prairie. Locals say it's a landmark that may contain a cache of treasure. There might be pioneer treasure under that tree. The prairie has deep, fertile soil, a cover of tall, coarse grasses, and few trees. It's hot in the summer because there's no shade. It's cold in the winter because there's nothing to slow the wind down. Lone tree. A landmark is a big object that's easy to see, like a hill, a tree, or a building that marks an area in a special way. Pioneer settlement. When asked whether the railroad may build near their land, these polite Swedish homesteaders say, "Takanai." The Homestead Act of 1862 said every settler could buy 160 acres of land for just $10. If you bought the land, though, you had to farm it for at least 5 years. Pioneer life is tough. Kids have to milk the cows, feed the chickens, and tend the horses. Only the lucky ones get to go to school. And if you get sick, the nearest doctor might live many miles away.
Here are some Swedish words I got from my phrase book. Hope they help.
Problem is, they came all this way to claim land as their own, and we come in and just build right over it. I'd hate that myself, but what's ours is ours. The railroad has right-of-way.
Some settlers want the railroad to come their way. It means more business, more traffic, more ways to transport their crops to market. Our railroad could make them rich.
The settlers are proud people who have traveled sometimes thousands of miles to claim this land as their own. In the plains, there are few trees, so families build homes with whatever they can find. It takes 3,000 square feet of sod to cut enough bricks for a house.
Pioneer settlement. When asked whether the railroad may build near their land, these polite German homesteaders say, "Ja."
I lost my German dictionary. See if you can use the Swedish dictionary to figure out the German words.
The Homestead Act of 1862.
Problem is, they came all...
Some settlers...
The settlers are...
Lexington, Nebraska. Building begins in this dangerous area on October 30th, 1866, 65 miles to North Platte. The Plum Creek Massacre occurred on August 7th, 1864. The Native American attack was so successful because the bluffs and canyons near Plum Creek kept them hidden and protected. North Platte. This settlement was a stopping point for the Oregon Trail, Mormon Trail, Pony Express, Overland Trail, and now the Union Pacific Railroad. The first of the French to pass through this area were Pierre and Paul Mallet. They explored the Platte Valley in June of 1739. The name Platte means flat or shallow. It comes from French traders who passed through this area.
Not much here right now, except for some tents. They're building machine shops, a 10-stall roundhouse, and a Union Pacific hotel. They say they'll be done in 1867, a year from now. There's also talk of holding something called a rodeo here. Don't know what that is, though.
200,000 pioneers passed through here with the wagon trains headed for homesteads out west.
North Platte's on the way to just about everywhere. It's dead center between Chicago and Salt Lake City, smack dab in the middle between Omaha and Denver, too.
I came through here before as a fur trader bound for the Rockies. Never thought much of these parts. The prairie dog colonies are a sight to see, though.
Pawnee Guide. A Pawnee scout asks you if you want to hire him to guide you through this tough country. What's your answer? We'll have to use sign language to talk to him. Sarah can help. Click on her camera. During the winter, the Pawnee live in round earth lodges that are over 50 feet across. You get into them through long tunnels.
Here are some signs to help you out. The scout's going from his home near the Loop River to the buffalo hunting grounds to the southwest.
Pawnee Guide. During the winter, the Pawnee live in round earth lodges that are over 50 feet across. You get into them through long tunnels that slant downward. They're made that way because of the religious beliefs of the tribe. You signed to the guide that you wanted to hire him as a scout. What do you offer him for his services? Sarah can help out if you need her.
Here are some signs to help you out.
You slide your right hand across your left palm a few times. It's an offer he can't refuse.
See, you pinch the loose skin on the back of your left hand with your right thumb and index finger. He'll want that for sure.
Here's what you do. You make a level circle with your thumb and index finger. That's what he wants.
Good decision. The Pawnee accepts your money and agrees to be your guide.
Money's the one thing most folks understand in any language.
The banks of creeks are fairly low, and the whole place is prone to flooding. Good choice. This creek is barely a stream. The deck plate bridge holds up well. Mysterious bones. Your workers discover the bones of an 8-foot giant beaver. What do you want to do?
Beavers are large rodents who live in water. They are from 3 to 4 feet long with broad, flattened tails.
I say we hightail it out of here. Giant beavers mean giant buck teeth. We'll be gnawed to death.
No such thing as a giant beaver. Must be some mistake. I say we send the bones to the Smithsonian Institute in Washington, D.C. and see what they have to say about it.
The Smithsonian Institute tells you that you found the remains of a prehistoric beaver that used to live here. It's called Castoritis. They pay you $10,000 for the bones. Judging from the skeleton we found, they must have weighed between 700 and 800 pounds. The Smithsonian Institute was founded in 1846 in Washington, D.C. for the increase and diffusion of knowledge, whatever that means. The Smithsonian Castoritis lived at the same time as the greatest land animals of the Earth's history: the giant wide-horned bison, the mastodon and mammoth, the great ground sloth, the saber-toothed tiger. The river is wide and shallow. The banks on both sides have high bluffs. Excellent choice. Emergency! Wood is getting scarcer and scarcer as you head west. What are you going to do?
There's a Swedish settlement nearby. They must have wood. Let's buy it from them.
No wood in these parts? We better telegraph Omaha and have them send us some more.
You need to telegraph Omaha for wood. Sarah has a Morse code dictionary if you need it. Just click on the camera.
This here's the Morse code for wood. I'm like a human dictionary.
The Morse code for wood is this here. My head's filled with all sorts of facts.
If you want the Morse code for wood, this is it. I'm filled with schooling.
Here's Morse code. Use it to figure out what the message says. You probably don't need to look up every letter. Here's Morse code.
Good going. We successfully ordered wood and made it through this emergency without a hitch. We're right on track.
The river is wide and shallow. Good bridge choice. Strong and not too expensive. North Platte. Congratulations! plans are underway to make North Platte the site of the world's largest railroad yard. That's because North Platte's halfway between Chicago and Salt Lake City, and halfway between Omaha and Denver, too. A perfect location for a railroad. We'll be rich. We're in Pine Bluffs, Wyoming. It's 1867. Time's flying, but we're still beating the CP. Watch out, though. Mountains ahead may slow our progress. How are we doing on money? We've made it to North Platte. Time to move on to Pine Bluffs. The mastermind is at it again. There's more sabotage. This time in North Platte. Belle Starr has been spotted back near Lexington. We need to bring her in for questioning. We're coming to get you, Belle. Belle Starr is holed up in an Indian village. Your mission? Find Belle Starr. Just click on the Train of Thought journal if you want help.
A brave. He knows where Belle Starr is hiding. Here's what he says. Give it food and it will live. Give it water and it'll die. Give it food and it'll live. Give it water and it'll die. Outlaw, where are you? Give it food and it'll live. Give it water and it'll die. It's fire, of course. She must be in that teepee. Belle Starr, show your ugly face. We found her, but she escaped again. That varmint. Let's find out where she's hiding next. Medicine Man. This is what he has to say. It can make you lighter or cause your death. Outlaw, where you be? We caught Belle Starr! Yeehaw!
Heidi?
Welcome back. Who? Let's catch him off guard with a loco question. Who plows snow in duck feathers?
Speaking of snow, his birthday is in between winter and summer.
Dodgy. I hate those. I'll record it anyway. Did somebody say helium?
I don't appreciate this. I'm getting angry in here.
All right. Where? Let's be tough as nails and see if that works. Now, no more nonsense. Where does your boss live? Let's have some answers, pronto.
I think he might live east of here. Satisfied?
Dodgy. I'll put that in the journal anyway. Did somebody say helium?
How undignified to talk like this.
Let's get back to this what? Loco question. It'll drive 'em nuts. If a tree falls in the forest and nobody is around to hear it, what color are snowflakes?
I wish I had lots and lots of hair like the mastermind, so I could cover my ears with it and not listen to your rambling ways.
False. What a useful liar. I'll mark it in the journal. How? Loco question. It'll drive 'em nuts. How does the mastermind make money, Sonny?
He makes money by holding other people's money. I do that too. I'm a crook.
True. I'll mark it in the journal. I wonder who did it. I don't consider outlaws to be vultures. I consider them something a vulture would eat.
We've made it to North Platte. On our way. North Platte, Nebraska, August 14th, 1867. A bomb has been spotted in the train yard. Your mission? Clear the locomotive out of the train yard and detonate that bomb. Good luck.
A steel-tipped whip. One spark from this could detonate a blasting powder keg in no time.
I can tell by his hat. He's an engineer. He ain't going near the trains. He's afraid of the bomb. Says we better get his train out of the train yard. First, we have to connect the mail car to the green locomotive. On the move! Forward gear engaged. That puts the locomotive in neutral, neither forward nor reverse. Into reverse we go! The throttle is now open. Up we go! Forward gear engaged. The throttle is now open. Here you go, buddy. Now get out of here before she blows. A worker, maybe an engineer, says he won't go near the bomb. We'll have to get inside his locomotive and connect it to his freight car and bring it back here. In the cab. On the move. Forward gear and the throttle is now open. I'll blow them up. Stand back. I'll go inside the roundhouse now. I'll have to pull the right lever to turn the train around. Look at the lever that's already been pulled and do the opposite. Sounds like the turntable moved just now. In the cab. Forward gear engaged. The throttle is now open. I'll have to pull the right lever to turn the train. Sounds like the turntable moved just now. Up we go! Forward gear engaged. The throttle is now open. In the cab. Forward. The throttle is now open. Up we go! For that, into reverse we go! The throttle is now open! In the cab, forward gear engaged. The throttle is now open! There you go, buddy! Now Now get out of here before she blows. The saloon keeper. He was hiding under the bar, afeard of the bomb. Says the outlaw locked it up. The combination is 3 letters that spell out a word that describes the outlaw. 3 letters that spell out a word that describes the outlaw. Box. Click on the arrows to turn the lock. Always turn to the right first, then left, then right. Got it! The bomb! A whale! Down the well she goes! We did it!
The trains are running again thanks to us. We're back and ready for action. We've made it to North Platte. Time to move on to Pine Bluffs. All right. We'll be starting in North Platte and jumping along to Pine Bluffs. 180 miles away. At $16,000 per mile, the government's given us $2,880,000. All right, I'm raring to build. North Platte to Pine Bluffs. Winter is on its way. Your mission? Keep construction on schedule through a prairie winter. And keep your men from freezing while you're at it. It's early December. We have time before the big winter storms hit.
The rivers in these parts freeze over during cold winters. People in these parts have taken to skating. They have skating parties. Gives them something to do in the long prairie winters.
Winter? Who's afeard of winter? Well, I seen snow up to my shoulders in these parts. Nothing we can't handle so long as we don't run into any blizzards.
There's trouble with the different native tribes hereabouts. There's hope for a treaty in a couple of years, but for now, this prairie's anything but peaceful.
Strange bones have been found in these parts. Some folks say they're from monsters. All I know is they're bigger than any bones I've ever seen.
South Platte River. The South Platte River runs very fast and has a sandy bottom.
The Spanish, who explored this area years and years ago, called this river the Rio de Jesus Maria.
The river is wide and shallow. The banks on both sides have high bluffs. A bluff along a river is a high, steep bank.
Depending on how high the water is, there are different islands in the North Platte River. When it rains a lot, some of those islands become bumps on the bottom of the river.
The area is covered in gravel, which may be difficult to build on. Some mysterious bones have been found in this area. Mysterious bones? Well, if we build here, I'm sleeping with the lantern on. Hills. The north bank of the South Platte is covered with sandy hills. Of course, we'll need a level road over these hills before we can lay any rails.
These hills are covered with tough little plants and trees called scrubs.
A hill is a rounded, natural high place in the land that's lower than a mountain and bigger than a bump in the road. Lodgepole Creek. The trees along this creek make excellent lodgepoles for teepees. A creek is a stream of water smaller than a river. This creek is easy to cross. Lodgepole. It takes up to 12 buffalo hides to make a teepee big enough for a family. The women in the tribes make the teepees and own them. Indian camp. You see men and women wearing colorful red and green clothes decorated with diamonds. If this is a Cheyenne camp, you will not want to build here. After several years of having their treaties with the U.S. broken, the Cheyenne are no longer friendly. A famous Cheyenne leader named Black Kettle tried to live peacefully near the settlers from the east. He signed treaties with the U.S. Army, but the government broke the treaties almost as soon as they made them.
In plain sign language, you make the sign for Cheyenne by drawing your right index finger several times across your left index finger. This signifies the striped turkey feathers that the Cheyenne use to make their arrows. To make the sign for white man, you draw your finger across your forehead, like a hat band.
The Cheyenne are nomads, which means they move around a lot. They follow the buffalo herds. They use them buffalo for food, clothing, and shelter.
No wonder the Cheyenne are hostile. During the Sand Creek Massacre on November 29, 1864, several hundred Cheyenne were killed by the U.S. Army.
Don't know about Cheyennes, but you can spot an Arapaho because they wear dark green and oxblood colored clothing with diamond patterns.
Indian camp. You see men and women wearing plain clothes with few colors, decorated with squares, triangles, and stripes.
In plain sign language, you...
No wonder the Cheyenne are hostile. During the Sand Creek Massacre on November 29, 1864, several hundred Cheyenne were killed by the U.S. Army.
Don't know about Cheyennes, but you can spot an Arapaho because they wear dark green and oxblood colored clothing with diamond patterns.
There are remains of an old Spanish camp here. Old Spanish camp? I wonder if they left behind any of their old Spanish gold. The Spanish began exploring this area hundreds of years ago. Until 1823, a big part of the American continent was still owned by Spain. They came north from Santa Fe and camped here. Lone Tree. A tall tree stands all alone on the prairie. Locals say it's a landmark on the emigrant trails. Maybe there's treasure under that tree, left behind by immigrants. Or Julesburg. This trading post in Colorado is an overland stage station. If you build here, you'll be able to take over the mail business. 5 years ago, in 1861, the U.S. Congress declared Colorado a territory. Telegraph lines now link Denver and New York. 10 words cost $9.10. That's more money than I make in a week. Julesburg, the Overland Trail mail route, was owned and operated by Ben Holliday, the Stagecoach King. As the boss of 2,670 miles of stage lines, he has more people working for him than anyone else in the United States.
The burning of Julesburg was the most expensive disaster on the Overland stage line. The Native Americans burned everything. The owner of the stage line, Ben Holliday, lost buildings, hay, sacks of corn, and provisions for a total of about $115,000.
Aw, shoot. Julesburg was my kind of town before it burned down. They had a saloon with billiards where you could drink the vilest liquor at 2 bits a glass. Lots of horse thieves and desperados, too. I say we build here, get tons of dough delivering the mail, and turn the town lively again.
Taking over the mail service would be a financial boon. But last year, Indians burned 12 ranches, destroyed 100 tons of hay, and attacked a wagon train in these parts. What's worse, they burned Julesburg to the ground and destroyed 75 miles of telegraph wires.
Before the Indians burned it down, Julesburg had a telegraph office, a store, blacksmith shop, warehouse, stables, and homesteaders' cabins, plus the Overland Stage Station building. I remember it well. Downright wild it was. I'd hate to build here again and see the place thrive. Too much city-like activity for a mountain man like me.
Ranches. The cattle ranchers in this area may want the railroad to take their cattle to market. This could mean big business for your railroad.
Think about it. You're a cattle rancher in the frontier and the railroad is coming your way. Don't you think you'd use it to transport your cattle to market? And don't you think you'd pay dearly for that privilege?
The ranchers sometimes hire Basque sheep herders from Europe who wander the scrubby hills with their flocks. They know the lay of the land completely, but speak no English.
Many ranchers love the idea of a railroad. That's because the railroad will make it easier for them to bring their cattle to market.
The buttes in this area are spectacular landmarks. A butte is a tall, rocky hill or mountain. It has a flat top and steep sides. Wind erosion gives it its strange shape. Building begins in North Platte on December 3, 1866. This settlement was a stopping point for the Oregon Trail, Mormon Trail, Pony Express, Overland Trail, and now the Union Pacific Railroad. The name Platte means flat or shallow. It came from French traders who passed through this area. The first of the French to pass through this area were Pierre and Paul Mallet. They explored the Platte Valley in June of 1739. For early Native Americans crossing the Western Plains, Pine Bluffs provided ideal campsites. Winter's approaching. It's sure to bring heavy snow. What do you want to do? Snow on the prairie. They say it can get pretty nasty. Heavy snowfall can occur in these parts for weeks and sometimes months. Snow is made up of small white ice crystals which form from water vapor in the air.
Blizzards can kill. Buffalo have thick fur to protect them from the winter chill, but if it's bad enough, they can freeze to death too.
I say we build a monster snowplow and plow the tracks. It's the cheapest alternative and it's sure to work.
Let's build sheds over the tracks to keep the snow off them. It's an expensive proposition, but the investment will pay off over time.
If it snows bad, better off stopping work for the winter. You don't want to end up like the Donner Party.
You send back to Omaha for supplies for winter headquarters. They cost you $300,000.
The men are grumbling about being stuck in camp. The way I see it is this: sitting around doing nothing is better than freezing to death in a blizzard.
The area is covered in gravel, which may be difficult to build on. Some mysterious bones have been found in this area. Your workers find mysterious bones. The Smithsonian Institute in Washington, D.C. identifies them as the fossil remains of a stegomastodon, or woolly mammoth. They buy the bones for the museum for $5,000. Hills. The north bank of the South Platte is covered with sandy hills. Success! Blasting powder made short work of those hills. There are remains of an old Spanish camp here. One of your workers finds a map that says there's treasure buried at El Fuego. Where do you want to dig?
I copied these words out of the F page in a Spanish to English dictionary. Hope it helps.
Fuego? That means outside. There's a tree outside the camp. We'll find that treasure there or I'll eat my boots.
Fuego means spring. There's a spring nearby. I bet they buried the treasure there.
Fuego? Well, that means fire. I wonder if they buried that treasure under that old campfire.
Your workers dig under the old campfire and discover a box filled with old Spanish coins. They're made of gold and are worth $10,000.
El Fuego means fire. That campfire was the closest you'll get to a fire around here. We did it!
Thunderheads are seen on the horizon. Before long, you're hit with a blizzard. Your winter headquarters protect your workers. Company bonus, $50,000.
Sitting in a tent on the prairie wasn't my idea of a party, but for $50,000, I reckon it was worth it.
Arapaho Camp. You see men and women wearing colorful red and green clothes decorated with diamonds. This is an Arapaho camp. The Arapaho trade with you and show you the best route west. You save $20,000 in the long run. The Crow Indians, who live north of the Platte River, called the tribe Alapaho, which means people with many tattoos.
Arapaho boys and girls get their ears pierced. That represents being struck by lightning, which they believe protects them from enemy arrows.
The Arapaho take a cactus needle and prick their skin. Then they rub powdered charcoal into the wound. When the wound heals, it has a sky blue color. They even tattoo their kids.
When there's a war on, the Arapaho women paint streaks on their cheeks, foreheads, and noses. In peacetime, they put a spot between their eyes. That stands for the buffalo cap. And a line from the mouth down to the chin. That stands for the road.
The Arapaho are experts at making animal sounds. They can bring deer out with special whistles they make out of wood or bone.
Ranches. The cattle ranchers in this area pay your railroad to take their cattle to market. Collect $50,000 in the long run. Lodgepole Creek. The trees along this creek make excellent lodge poles for teepees. Good choice. That cost us only $10,000. The Arapaho depend upon these trees. Cutting them down could mean trouble, but they're great wood for building. What do you want to do?
These trees will make fine, strong railroad ties. It'll save us $50,000 in the long run.
No need to risk getting into trouble with the Arapaho. They need these trees more than we do. We can ship in wood for railroad ties and fuel for $50,000.
Shipping in lumber cost you $50,000. Turns out the Arapaho didn't need the trees at Lodgepole Creek, since they also use trees from the nearby mountains.
Guess sometimes it pays to be a little greedy.
We've made.
All right.
We'll be starting in North Platte to. Winter's approaching. You send back. There will remain. Your workers dig up. Thunderheads are seen. Arapaho camp. Ranches. Lodgepole Creek. Good choice. The Arapaho depend upon these trees. Cutting them down could mean trouble. Bad decision. The heavy traffic along the Oregon Trail was a good sign that it was the best way west. Your route is more difficult and costs an X. Pine Bluffs. Thanks to Bluffs. Thanks to Bluffs. Thanks to your railroad, Pine Bluffs is about to become one of the most famous cow towns in the West. Whew, Rollins, Wyoming. We made it. It's now 1868. One last push and we've made it to Promontory. It's now 1867. A new salad craze is sweeping the nation. What's a salad? Get a load of this. They've invented a machine that produces paper shopping bags. What'll they think of next? A deal at twice the price. Alaska just became part of the country for a mere $7.2 million. In 1867, big cities are making public parks so that people can breathe good air and avoid the cholera plagues that have killed 50,000 people. 1867, the U.S. Congress is looking into the impeachment of President Johnson. Serious business. Let's hope the country never faces this again. It's now 1867. A new salad. Pine Bluffs is a nice town, but our next milestone is Rollins.